WebSocket vs REST API for real-time data. Which one to use? Choosing between WebSockets and REST APIs for real-time data depends on the specific needs and constraints of your application. Both technologies serve different purposes and have their own strengths and weaknesses, particularly when dealing with real-time data. Let's make a small comparison to help determine which might be more appropriate for the use case or for your use case. Let's start first by the WebSocket, and let's start with the pros. In the pros, first we have the first thing that we talk about is the full duplex communication. Let's make this quite wider. Yeah. So WebSockets provide a full duplex communication channel that allows data to be sent simultaneously between the client and server over a single long-lived connection. This is ideal for real-time data exchange. Second, no, low latency. I don't like that. Second will be low latency. Due to the persistent nature of the connection, WebSockets minimize latency because the overhead of HTTP head checks is eliminated after the initial connection setup. And lastly, no, not again. Lastly, will be the real time interactivity. WebSockets are designed for scenarios where quick, interactive communication is crucial, such as is online gaming, live sports updates, real-time trading, and collaborative editing tools. Let's talk about the cons right now. The first thing that we'll talk about is the complexity in scaling. It's really tough in scaling. Managing a large number of simultaneous WebSocket connections can be quite complex and resource intensive because each connection is persistent. Number two, limited support in infrastructure. Some proxies and firewalls do not support WebSocket connections, which can limit its use in certain environments. Number three, the overhead of keeping connections alive. So the server must manage the maintain open connection, increase resourcing utilization. On the other hand, let's talk about the REST API. And let's start with the pros. The first thing that we'll talk about the simplicity and the standardization of it. REST APIs are easy to implement and are supported by a wide range of platforms and languages. They use standard HTTP methods which are universally understood and easy to work with. Number two, which will be the statelessness. REST is a stateless, so each request is independent and does not depend on previous requests. This makes REST APIs easier to scale horizontally. Number three, flexibility and caching. So REST APIs can return data in various formats such as JSON, XML, etc. And the responses can be cached to improve performance. Let's talk about the cons because we have serious one here. The first thing that we talk about, which is the higher latency. For real-time data, REST APIs may introduce higher latency since each request typically involves a new HTTP connection, unless HTTP2 is used, for example. And number two, which will be the polling overhead, and we might talk about polling in another video, but to achieve real-time like functionality, clients often need to pull the server at intervals to check for new data. And basically in I would say like something like in from a high level polling, it's like something. Let's just let's say that we have the client and we have the server. The client will send a request to see, for example, do we have a new data? And the server will say no. After 2 seconds, the client will say another request. Do we have new data? The server will say no. After a specific amount, the client will send another request to the server. Do we have a new data? And if the server have a new data, it will send it back. This process called polling. So when to use which one we have right now to the WebSockets, and we have right now the REST API. When to use which one? We use the WebSockets. You need a true real-time functionality with a very low latency. We use a WebSocket. We use a WebSocket when you require a persistent continuous two-way interaction between the client and the server. We use a WebSocket when the application demands instant updates and interactive communication. Okay, when we use the REST API, the application can tolerate some latency, or the data updates do not need to be instantaneous. The the interaction model is primarily client initiated and fits well with the request response model, or you need to leverage existing infrastructure and scalability patterns, especially for large scale applications where maintaining a large number of open connection is impractical. So, in summary, if your application strictly requires real time capabilities and can manage the complexity of managing persistent connections, with WebSockets may be better choice. However, for applications where network efficiency, scalability, and simplicity are more critical, and where real-time interaction is either not necessary or can be slightly delayed, REST APIs would be more suitable. For so that's it for this video, and see you in future.